Welcome to My Body Fits, and in this week's video I interviewed registered nutritionist, intuitive eating practitioner and non-diet counsellor Mel Wakeman. We dive right into menopause, dieting, the toxic nature of social media and the bombardment of judgmental messaging from the fitness industry. Mel gives us some fantastic ways to assess our relationship with food and our bodies and starts to teach us ways to be kinder to ourselves. Trigger warning, we do discuss disordered eating disorders, and we talk about some diet practices across the year. I really hope that you enjoy watching this as much as I did recording it. Pop down in the comments afterwards and let me know your biggest takeaway from this interview. Don't forget to like, subscribe and click the bell to be notified when I put out more awesome videos like this. Grab yourself a beverage, pop your feet up and come on and meet Mel Wakeman. Mel Wakeman, nutritionist superstar. So I'm just going to quickly tell you how I came across Mel. So back in May 2021, I was exploring all the work of Diane Danzebrink and looking at lots of her videos and checking out her campaign and that kind of thing. And I came across a video of the two of you, and it was you guys talking about menopause and nutrition. And I was just like, there were two videos, weren't there? There was part one and part two. First of all, I just thought, oh, you were so funny, the pair of you together. Really, really loved and enjoyed watching you. And I thought, what a brilliant person. But also, more importantly, what I loved was with your credentials and how long you've been in the business, how super laid back and relaxed you were, and your amazing balanced approach to nutrition in menopause. Yeah, so Mel, just tell us a little bit about you and what you do.
Lovely. Yes, so I am a registered nutritionist, and I'm also an intuitive eating practitioner and a non-diet counsellor. And basically I help folk who are having trouble with their relationship with food. So they're experiencing disordered eating. They may well be recovering from chronic dieting. They may be in eating disorder recovery. And all of this happens through a weight inclusive lens. So it's very much about supporting folk as they are and appreciating the bodies that they're in as they are and meeting them where they're at. And I've been doing this for around, 5 years specifically as myself. Yeah. Be me, but you know, prior to that, I was a senior lecturer in nutrition and physiology for over 20 years.
So you did mention the kind of people that you work with. Do you work with women at this sort of age and, you know, women that are, you know, going through menopause quite a lot?
Yeah, I work in terms of the sort of disordered eating and the eating disorder spectrum. I work with younger clients. But what I'm really sort of intent on getting this message out is that it's really common, I'll say it's become more common for women going through menopause transition to kind of suddenly find that they're caught up in this sort of spiral, going through sort of changes in their body. And it may be that, you know, past problems with their eating have re-emerged, or as I think we'll probably talk about today, all the stuff that goes on in our society that puts huge expectations on what women are supposed to do through menopause. So yeah, I work, the majority of my clients, I would say, are between kind of 45 and 55, to be honest, Mel. Yeah.
So this really leads beautifully into like the first thing that I really wanted to talk about is the diet and fitness industry and the way they target this demographic of women who are, you know, going through all these changes, which can be really scary and really uncomfortable. And really, there's some predators out there in this industry that will target and highlight the things that are natural occurrences in a woman's body and really gaslight women into being ashamed of those changes. And, you know, this kind of, you know, like really quite toxic messaging, really, that it's bad, you've got to change it. And, you know, we talked recently, one of my pet hates is this kind of, meno belly, you mustn't have a meno belly. You know, that term is so damaging. Yeah, I know we both really hate that. And I really wanted to talk about why this is problematic, and it can be really, really damaging for women to be bombarded. I mean, when I say bombarded, I'm not underestimating, bombarded with this message. So why is that problematic, and why can it be so damaging for women at this time of life? And we've already touched on it, but let's expand on that.
I mean, you're right. It's relentless. Like, you can't even kind of hang out under a rock and avoid it, because it's just everywhere. It's in the ocean that we are swimming in. And yeah, you're absolutely right. You know, we both know the changes that occur through menopause transition are absolutely normal. Okay, so we know some of these symptoms are problematic and troublesome, but you know, some weight gain is likely and normal. It happens because we're getting older. Shape change is to be expected because of the hormonal shifts and how that changes our body's metabolism. But we live in a world that's kind of fueled by the diet and fitness industry, and we live in an ageist society that basically declares that this shit is not normal. And so we should fight this shift because it's deemed unappealing to not conform to this kind of societal ideal. It's unattractive, and it says, hey, you don't care, you don't have enough willpower, you don't care about your health, and you're just basically lazy if you don't make an effort to shrink your body down or, you know, combat these all changes. So that's kind of bloody annoying, because there's so much derogatory language. It's very loaded, it's very judgmental. And so we know that basically whacking somebody with a stick doesn't instigate positive behavioral change, it doesn't instigate sustainable changes. But the thing that really bugs me is it just ignores the role of our biology, which is ultimately there to get us through life and keep us safe. And yes, we are, you know, through menopause transition, we're coming to the end of, you know, our reproductive capabilities. There are meant to be shifts in our body, but this is not considered. So there's a lot of shaming that goes on. So there's judgmental, it doesn't consider genetics, it doesn't consider any of the privileges that many folk may have around being able to afford, you know, healthy food. And I'd say that in inverted commas, because I don't really even like the idea of labeling food as healthy or unhealthy. We have access to food, that we've got the money and the capability and the means, and if our genetics lends itself to being able to maybe change our body. So it's just really defamatory to a normal process. And what happens is that we as human beings, particularly if we're vulnerable, it lowers our self-esteem. And that changes our outlook, and it has an impact on our motivation, if you like. But what happens, I think, in a world where we live in a world that's kind of, we're under this kind of patriarchal, we are victims of patriarchy as women, you know? And I think women are manipulated, and when our self-esteem lowers, it kind of invites this inner critic to come in. And this is what I see. I see women that are coming in out of desperation because they're experiencing fear and guilt around food. They're feeling overwhelm and exhaustion and body dissatisfaction. And the life they are living is not what they wanted or hoped for. They're not living the life that they were told that they could have, that you could be happy and healthy and have everything that you've ever wanted if you know, just conform to this societal idea. So it's I think it lends the message that your body is broken, and it's bloody well not. And but when we internalize that message, it can be really hard to unpack and let that go.
Really, really hard. But also that message that your body's broken, but also adding to that, and it's super easy for you to fix it, and you should be fixing it. Look at me. Look how fit and awesome. And, you know, it's so important that you picked up on genetics, because there are a lot of influencers out there, women who are mid-age, midlife, who do still have a societal accepted body, And and don't get me wrong, I am all for anybody anywhere on the spectrum doing whatever they want with their body, wearing what they want. But when it's used as a tool to say, look, I can, so you should be able to, that doesn't, again, and people that are not in the industry, the sort of, the everyday woman that's going through this, that's sitting there going, oh my God, look, she's got that body and she just does this and this, I should be. It then leads to like what the sort of things that you're talking about, which are, disordered eating disorders, going on these crazy diets that actually, especially in this time of life, are detrimental to health, aren't they?
Yeah. At a time where, our body's requirements and demands are starting to creep up. And if we think, and I'm just looking at this personally, it's very much my personal opinion, but I'm hearing more and more women who are menopausal in the sandwich years.
Yeah.
So caring for both parents and children in a world that's kind of fucked up, to be honest.
Yeah.
And it's like, what capacity do we have to be able to do all of this?
Yeah.
And now my menopausal brain has just gone, I don't know what you were talking about.
That's absolutely fine. Don't worry. I go there too. When you were talking there, I was going, so many things. You and I could sit and talk about this stuff for such a long time. So 2 things on this subject, and it's moving into kind of what I wanted to talk about next, is kind of like the role of social media and how damaging that is sometimes. So 2 examples, and I'm not going to use names or anything because that's not my style, bringing other people down, but just 2 things that I've seen this week alone. One is a very well-known influential person saying it's really easy to prepare great food. It's really easy. And as soon as I didn't even have the volume up, I just saw the thing and I went, oh my God, and I did a video the other day, actually. Now, on my menopausal brain, I can't even remember what the video was about. I think it was either about hot flushes. And I was talking about all the different things that can exacerbate that. And, non-supplement things, not doing supplements, thinking about all these things like stress relief and blah, blah, blah. And then I was saying, I get quite triggered by people going, just, remove the stress from your life. And exactly how you just said, so many women of our age, because we've gone into careers later, we're married later, we've still got dependent children. Our parents possibly are becoming more dependent. We're still trying to carve careers out for ourselves. And then to add to that, we're going, we've got to be super fit. Oh, and that person on Instagram just said that it's really easy. So actually, I'm doing something really freaking wrong here.
Yeah. Yeah, do we blame Nike on this? Just do it. Do it. Because it's that fucking easy. No, it isn't.
Yeah, it makes me so mad.
Yeah. And I want people to, and it's absolutely a whole marketing thing because, people, we want the quick fix.
Yeah, of course.
Don't we? Our biology says, do the most efficient thing, do the easiest thing.
Yeah.
But when you factor in emotions to all of this and factor in hormones, women are kind of attractors of all these balls and plates that we've got to keep up in the air. We try to look after everybody else and we forget ourselves.
100%. The second person I saw recently, this week again, and this one really triggered me. She said, she grabbed hold of her belly and went, "Menno belly." So straight out, I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. Honestly, like literally like doing that in the camera. And I was like, I freaking love my belly. How dare you try to make me feel that I should be ashamed of my belly? But then she said, it's really simple. Simply cut down the food on your plate. And I was like, you're making me hungry just thinking about cutting down the food on my plate. I could not. I love my food. And if I don't eat the amount of food that I eat, I feel really, really hungry. That straight away makes me think, it makes me want to eat more. It makes me want to eat quick fix food, So I was going, oh God, this is a really this person, this organization has quite a lot of followers. There are loads of people looking at them as an authority that are now going to go, oh, I need to just cut down my portions. And I'm going, oh, please, just.
Yeah. I'm now thinking, do I know who this is?
I'll tell you quickly afterwards. I'll tell you later. Yeah.
But you know,
it's rife though. This is rife. It doesn't matter who it is because it's rife. It's everywhere. Every day I'm seeing stuff like this.
Yeah. And I see it too. The amount of bullshit and crap that I see, okay, from influencers and from, you know, TV celebrities and people that actually haven't got a foggiest. But also people that we redeem as being professional or the authority. So
everyone,
people in the doctor and medical and health profession.
Yeah.
And to me, that's messed up because it's drawing on people's vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And it gets very confusing. Like, I can barely keep up with trends. And I was going to mention someone, I won't be because it might be triggering. And it's like, how did we get to this place where, you know, having to replace bread with avocados and peppers and lettuce is a thing?
Yeah.
You know, and how do we get to a place where chugging down chia seeds to basically cause us to lose our control of our bowels is a normal thing?
Yeah, I know. And it's just, and like you say, I find it hard to keep up with the trends and the new, you know, the new speak, the new, this kind of thing. And that actually brings me really nicely on to the next thing that I want to talk about. Is this spectrum. And we talked about this recently, you and I, this spectrum of the diet and fitness industry, where at one end, and, you know, this is just my personal opinion about what's at one end and the other. This is not anything official, but at one end, you've got really extreme dieting, extreme exercise regimes, where really I can only imagine that somebody, their whole life is getting up and eat, you know, everything about their life is just focused on that. And then you've got the right down the other end where, you know, it's completely, I don't want to use even certain terms because I don't want to like offend people, but they are completely anti any diet, very, they're against anything that even looks like a diet, which is great and sounds great on the outside, but there are some extremists at that end that are not, they can be problematic as well, because they're saying to people, don't even listen to your body, just eat whatever you want. So there's this real extreme, and then there in the middle of that there is, you know, so much worrying stuff. You've got things like you know, like you were saying earlier, the healthy, this is not diet, it's a lifestyle. And I've been there. Listen, when I talk about this spectrum, let me tell you, I've walked that spectrum. I have walked it, come back again, and I've done this for many, many years. And I'm still a work in progress. I still, you know, consider myself.
We all are.
Absolutely still consider myself a work in progress. So for me, navigating that spectrum, even as a fitness professional and having a little bit more knowledge than some people, that was quite an interesting journey. And I came to the point where I was scared almost about eating healthy food in case, well, am I just doing that? Because, you know, and some people demonize healthy food. You know, that kind of thing as well. So for somebody that's not even in the fitness industry and maybe hasn't read as much as we have or taken so much of an interest, just your kind of, you know, your everyday person that is going, what do I do? How on earth do they navigate that world? I don't even know.
Can I take you on like a little history?
Please do. Please do.
Sure. Because what you're talking about is kind of this rebound. It's the bouncing. It's this pendulum effect, isn't it?
Yes.
And so we've got at the one end of the spectrum, we've got this, all consuming. Everything is focused on whether it's health or shrinking bodies. And I think there's an element of that fights against our biology. And I'm going to talk to you sort of why that happens in a moment, but we fight against our biology. So we get this rebound swing to the other side, which is almost like a rebellion to, I've had rules up to here.
Yes.
They're in my head. I can't get rid of them. So I'm just like, fuck you. I'm going up the other end because
Yes.
it's liberating and I want body autonomy. Absolutely. I know you and I are on the same page in this. It's absolutely something we are entitled to.
Yes.
But to have body autonomy, we need the information to make the right decisions for ourselves and our life and our future.
Yeah.
And so it gets really cloudy in the middle because you get infiltration of these both ends of the extremes coming in. And it's like, well, I don't even know what my body is asking me, never mind what I'm supposed to be doing for it. You know,
communication is down between completely.
And we know that with diets that it creates a huge disconnect between our body and ourselves, and that happens with food. So that's one of the reasons why we go externally to all of these rules, because it's like, I don't know where I am. How am I supposed to know how well I'm doing? So I'll go and step on the scales, or I'll go and track everything, you know. But if we kind of go back to what we've had to experience through the decades, so like if we go back to the 1920s, okay, we had Lucky Strike cigarettes, and women were encouraged to smoke to combat sweet cravings so they could conform to the societal ideas back then. 1930s, we had the grapefruit diet, and maybe do a trigger warning.
Yes, I will. Yeah, I was just thinking that.
Because I'm talking about, you know, dieting techniques and weight loss and so on. But there was, you know, the grapefruit diet, because apparently if you have a grapefruit with every meal, it'll help melt the fat, which we know is not a thing. And then we go, let's go through to the 70s and 80s. We had, this is where I kind of came in, Slim Fast meal replacement, where you have just a shake for breakfast, shake for lunch, and a proper or a sensible dinner. And Jane Fonda turned up in her leggings, and it was no pain, no gain. So it started to bring in the kind of kind of thing. It's very submissive, very controlling around women. And then we had Atkins coming in the 90s. But I think it came before, but it's been kind of rethought up multiple times.
It blew up in the 90s, didn't it? For sure.
I think so. So we'd gone from very low fat in the 80s. Beginning of the 90s, it was like, no, fat is amazing. Go for fat. Sugar is the toxic thing. So now it's all been keto and low carb. So it's like this massive roller coaster of demonizing foods, giving foods pedestals. They're the righteous foods, they're the shitty foods. And now we're in intermittent fasting, and now we're getting keto with intermittent fasting. And it's like, is there anything somewhere along the way? And it just makes you go, bloody hell. Is there anything somewhere along the way that says, like, this is all back to front? We're trying to tell you to ignore what you've just learned there and now do the complete opposite. And oh no, that's wrong. Try this. And you've got this perpetual cycle where the diet industry is basically sucking us in, making us false promises and taking our money for the pleasure of it when there's no scientific basis. But what happened back in the 90s was it started about in the 90s, but probably about 10 years ago, diet started to become this dirty word. It's like, okay, these diets, they're not really doing anything, are they? I don't think they work. So what then people started to do was go, no, all diets are bad. There's no one better than the other. What we need are sustainable lifestyle changes, Mel. We need sustainable lifestyle changes.
Oh God, that's such a great. This sounds exciting and very intelligent.
It does. It's like, yes, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle, Mel. But when you unpick that, guess what's underneath? Well, you need to kind of watch your portions and don't eat the high calorie foods, and we need to go clean, and let's watch that hunger. But by all means stay motivated, but you better track everything. That is diet culture. That is the diet industry being super sneaky in. So coming back to your question, how the hell are we supposed to navigate stuff where it isn't clear what it even is? So we're getting people now who are going like, do you know what? I don't want a diet. Diets don't work for me. They mess with my head. And I get women coming to me. I am the biggest I have ever been because I have dieted for the last 40 years. So I want to do sensible stuff. I want to take care of my health. But the diet and wellness industry is now co-opting the non-diet language around listen to your body, you know, eat what you want, give yourself permission, be gentle. But at the root of it, which I think is really sinister, is, yeah, but we want to make you track yourself and you want to shift and change your body weight and shrink yourself.
Yeah.
So navigating it is very difficult because it's incredibly misleading. So I get people coming to me and I kind of talk about people. Do you feel that your relationship with food is disordered, or do you find your relationship with food and your body difficult? And they don't know.
Yeah.
I think that's a really honest and genuine response, and I get that completely. So can I go through some questions that might help people identify it?
Please. Yeah, please do. That would be amazing.
Because all of this kind of disordered thinking around food in our bodies, it's normalized. So I guess if you're watching or listening to this wondering, I don't know if I have an unhealthy relationship with food, I kind of think it's okay. But so question one is, do you restrict foods to lose weight with the sole purpose to lose weight? Do you cut out food groups in the name of health? So let's just say carbs or gluten, not because you've had, you know, a medical diagnosis, but because you've heard it's a good thing to do. Do you follow rules about what to eat, how to eat, and when to eat? Do you ignore your own hunger cues in order to control your body? And there's a challenge there because people really struggle with hunger cues.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
We're great at pushing them away. Do you believe that there is only one weight that you can be healthy and happy at? Do you feel a failure if you can't get to that weight? Do you use exercise to compensate for eating? And do you feel that your success as a human being depends on your weight?
Wow.
And if you say yes to any of those, and there's no judgment here, there may be some elements there that suggest your relationship with food in your body may be unhealthy.
Yeah. They are so powerful questions, Mel. I got goosebumps actually, even, you know, even like hearing you say those questions. I think I've come across those questions with you before on maybe like when we did a short bit of work together. I think I've come across them, but they really ignite quite an emotional response in people, don't they? And I'm really so lovely that you said straight away, no judgment, because that's so important to keep driving home with what you do, isn't it? That because we've been judged so many times with everything we've done, and the journey that we've been on with this kind of dieting for years and years and years. It's probably so new to someone to hear there's no judgment at all, but actually it's quite frightening to answer all those questions, because then you're saying, you know, what you're saying, I've got to let go of all those rules. What the frick? You're asking me to jump out of an aeroplane without a parachute like that. That was for me. So all the stuff that you've just said and the journey that you just took on, I'm going, yeah. Done all of those, said all of those. I've been a part of being in the fitness profession, talking that shit, so this is why I don't kind of necessarily, I'm not part of this culture, which is another toxic thing, Reggie, that is bringing other people down, because I've done it. I've been there and I've said it. And like I said, I'm still a work in progress and I'm still learning. But yeah, they're powerful questions, very emotive questions, and I would imagine somebody at the start of their journey would be going, oh God, so scary.
Because I think, the control that we get through being very food and body focused it's a false sense of security. And the idea of letting go of that, because those are food rules, and a lot of our beliefs, they are our safety ropes. Like imagine you're in a very deep swimming pool and you've got these safety ropes or like flotation things, and they're keeping you afloat, and the idea of somebody taking those away is like, it literally ignites a huge threat response. And this is why it's not bloody motivation and willpower we need. We need to find safety in our body. We need to find something that we can start to call home.
Yeah.
And that's hard when perhaps, you know, we grow up in a world that doesn't make it very easy to be in the body we were born with sometimes, or be in the body that we have transformed into because of life's natural events. So to find home in your body means we need to find safety. That doesn't mean punishment. It doesn't mean ripping away and pulling away your safety lines, because then your body will just go into shutdown, and it just doesn't work.
And that's the rebound thing you're talking about, isn't it? I think that happens, doesn't it? When somebody goes, okay, I really want to do this. And I know for me, that was my experience. And, you know, when you talked about going completely the opposite and going, I'm going to be so freaking rebellious, I'm going to just eat everything. And that was such a liberating time. And actually it was so eye-opening for me, because I discovered that one of the things that I had stopped myself eating was fruit. And I was going, oh, I'm going to eat some strawberries. Look at me. Don't even care. I was like, wow, that's so fucked up that I feel like that. But yeah, it's that kind of, you do that I did that for a while, and then went, oh, I can't do this. Oh, and I wanted to rebound because I kept, you know, that safety element that you're talking about. I kept sort of, you know, swinging back and forth from that. So yeah. And
it highlights that, particularly in midlife. We know that binge eating is probably one of the most common types of eating disorders that presents in menopausal women. And part of that is through the restrictive mindset and thinking, right, I just eat less, just less smell and move a bit more.
Yeah.
And so our body goes into scarcity mode. And a lot of that binging can be, yes, it can be emotional. But it's deprivation driven.
Yeah.
That's like saying, hold your breath. Hold your breath and see what happens. Like, can you just keep holding on your breath? And then when you kind of go, you go, God, Mel, that's binge breathing. Stop doing that.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's a survival response.
Yeah. That's such a great analogy. I love that. That's really, really good. Wow. That's just blown my mind. Amazing. So you've already given folks here like these questions, which were so amazing, and I think will be so helpful. So if people find themselves on this journey where they're wanting to just, you know, really start the work on letting go of all of these rules and, you know, and really starting to tune into their own body and, you know, taking into account their own lifestyle and all these things, obviously it's way bigger than we can address here. But if they were going to take like one, maybe 2 steps, like those questions are a great start, aren't they? Yeah. Is there anything else that you would say, you know, in the beginning, here's like one thing, or, you know, one thing that you can do to get started on this journey?
I think it kind of needs to be instigated by a knowing that something needs to change. There'll be something within you that goes, this isn't sitting right anymore. This feels too hard. And so for me, it's about, it may be bringing yourself to truly listen to that gut instinct. And I do quite a lot of work around intuitive eating. It's like, it's like this interoceptive awareness. There is something truthful in our gut that might be saying, could you listen to me instead of diet culture? Could you listen to me instead of whoever it is out there? And kind of take notice of what might be feeling difficult. Like, is it because it's relentless, it's all consuming, takes away your quality of life? There isn't enough headspace to kind of think about the stuff you want to do. So you wake up thinking, oh God, I've got to do it all again. And so if there's a sense that you're kind of, there's a fight going on within your body, then I invite you to soften into that. Because normally when it's like, oh, I don't like that feeling, I don't know how to cope with it, I don't want to open up that can of worms, because what the hell is in there? What if I can't cope with it? So I get that resistance, and just now I am coming from a place of a professional space here, but also this is my own personal experience. I have walked the walk here in terms of a difficult relationship with food.
Yeah.
And as much as society tells us to put on the brave face and let's go and clean the house to the 11th degree, because that way I don't have to think about it, I invite you to kind of sit in the shit a bit.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this is where safety is important, but work on self-compassion. Work on being kinder to yourself. Notice maybe the tone and the language of that inner voice. And I believe me when I say it's coming from a good place. We don't need to fight that, but can we, it is that thing in terms of how would you speak to God, your dog, your cat, your loved one? How would you treat them? How would you touch them, speak to them? So when you're talking about grabbing that belly and kind of going, oh, I'm disgusted with it. It's like gentle touch.
Yeah.
Gentle speaking. And I think if you can start to recognize that can I sit with this for like 10 seconds? Can I sit in this discomfort? There may be an element of, okay, I'm still here. And so if we can start to work through that difficulty, then there's lots of things we can do around starting to reject the diet mentality, reject those beliefs that we hold that are not true, and starting to find ways that we can listen to our body. And it is a journey.
Yes, of course.
You can't fail this journey.
Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? Yeah.
It's not a tick box exercise. It's not about hitting goals and landmarks and milestones. It's a journey of discovery and of becoming. Yeah. And there's something around, I think, with menopausal women finding out who the hell you are.
Oh, yes, definitely.
And our identity, and starting to allow ourselves to restore the trust that we have with our body. Okay.
That's the word right there, Mel. Trust, isn't it? That kind of building that trust with yourself, isn't it? Yeah.
So there are books on intuitive eating. So there's an intuitive eating workbook. What I really like, there's an intuitive eating journal.
I think I might have that somewhere.
You might have that.
Yeah. Workbook.
You've got the workbook.
I've got the workbook.
Yeah. So this has there's loads of
journal. Love a journal.
There's the journal. And because I really like this. When you're in this place of, I don't know what I'm feeling, I don't know what is my thoughts, what's diet culture. It's like, how do I know what to believe or not? So something like this, where it's structured, it's prompted. Yeah. So it can kind of get you to gently start to explore what your thoughts are and is that true or not? So in terms of a self-help approach, that's kind of nice. Gosh, I mean, I do have different cards and things, but I guess my point here is you don't need to do it on your own. Yeah. And this is not a plug for me to go and come and work with me, but genuinely, my question is, what part of you makes you believe that you need to work this out on your own?
And it is such a difficult journey. I mean, I dived into, like I do with everything I, discover, I dived into all the books and all the different, I really immersed myself in it. But even me as a fitness professional and my understanding of, of this kind of world, I still needed that support and that help along the way. When I went, I've hit a place, and I did it by myself for quite a long time. And then I hit a place going, I know that I am it's like a magnet, this diet culture. I could feel myself. My thing was kind of the whole cutting out, and it was a control thing for me. And I could feel that happening. And I quickly got in touch with you and said, I just think like a session with you would help me. And it really did. And we had a little bit of communication, that for me was so invaluable. And I look back on the stuff that we did. If I ever feel that little whisper going, come on, we're over here. Look at that, in particular, like I was looking through some videos the other day of, I did a video and it's got lots of different clips of me over the years doing all different types of exercise. And I was looking going, oh, look at me. And I could feel that going, and I was going, hey, you know what? And I'm not going to say that I wasn't happy then and I'm so much happier now. I think I was the same. I don't think it was any different. What I know is that one of the biggest things for me is the awareness of this huge space where this diet talk was like a background radio constantly on in my brain. And when I managed to dial that down, I went, oh, the quietness that I'm experiencing, the space that I'm experiencing. And it, like I say, it does get turned up. It does get turned up. And I think when that turn up happens, or when that noise happens, it's really great to get some support and get some help, which really does lead me in beautifully to asking you, Mel, tell us about all the things that you do, everything that you've got to offer. If people are going, I need that support right now, you know, what kind of things have you got and what do you offer to people?
So I'm quite active on social media. I'll begin with where I hang out on social media. I'm on Instagram as Mel Wakeman. So it's Mel. You'll put the links in, won't you?
I'll put the links in, 100%. Yeah. I'll put all the stuff in that we've
I'm on Instagram as Mel Wakeman, and it's that's kind of my creating a healthy relationship with food account, really, where I do a bit of ranting and a bit of funny dancing, but basically there is a very genuine and heartfelt, compassionate message in there.
Yeah.
I've kind of shifted over as well. I'm hanging out on TikTok because it's not just the young uns that hang out over there.
Yeah.
And I wanted to create a safe kind of healing space, and that's more specifically around eating disorder recovery over there. Okay. And my name over there is Cake Over Keto, because that is the name of my podcast, which I started early this year. Just the 10th episode will be, well, wherever this goes out, but the 10th episode will be coming out at the end of season 1. And this is basically about helping you get rid of the anxiety and guilt around food and just eat the goddamn cake. Okay. So I talk about what lies beneath the number on the scales, you know. Is intuitive eating just an excuse to eat everything? I talk about weight loss surgery, menopause and eating disorders, lots of different things like that. And I have a website, which is wakemannutrition.com. And if you head onto there, if anyone would like to carry on the conversation in a very safe, non-judgmental space, I always offer a free half hour to be able to do that. And I've got a membership group, and I've got small group programs, which will probably be coming back towards the end of the year again.
Amazing. I love your podcast. That's my companion on my dog walks, and I just love having you on my dog walks with me. But the information is so well presented, and so it's delivered to, you know, it's delivered in such a way that we can all understand what you're talking about, and that's what I love, and that's so important for me. I sometimes read books and I go, I don't know what the fruit you're talking about. I have no idea. It's too sciencey for me. I love a down-to-earth message, and your podcast is amazing for that. So highly recommend that. So fantastic. Yeah. And I, again, you know, like we've done work together, so I can personally highly recommend you for that as well. So moving on to my 2 final questions for you, Mel. I wanted to ask anybody I get on as guests, I want to flood people's lives with inspiring and amazing women that they can follow to help them navigate this journey. Obviously, you're on here and you're one of them, but could you give me your top 2 champions for women talking about menopause or supporting people through menopause?
Yeah. So the first one you've already named, and I've put this there because I wanted to kind of promote kind of smaller accounts.
Yes.
Okay. Because, you know, a lot of people are doing amazing work and are not getting seen. But the person that made a huge difference to me in my menopause journey was Diane Danzebrink. She literally saved me from basically just not knowing what the hell to do when my business folding to getting some support. And she was, and I think it lends itself to those videos that you talked about at the beginning. She is just the most kind, down-to-earth woman.
She's incredible, isn't she?
Yeah.
She was very important for me as well, because my journey before her was very much the holistic side of my education, and what I learned about menopause was very much the holistic side, which, you know, like I say, we both know I'm very into the balance and having a bit of information from both, but I didn't get any information about the HRT, and that it's not anything to be scared of. And Diane really brought that into my learning space, and just think she's amazing. Because
again, it's really overwhelming. You don't know what to believe when you're out there, and she's like one of my trusted go-tos.
100%.
And the second one is a lady called Leslie Waldron. And she's on Instagram as Leslie Waldron, health coach. And we connected the other year, and she supports specifically women going through perimenopause and menopause transition. But what I love it is that she gets it. She gets the overwhelm that can happen. There's no fad in there. There's just genuine authenticity. Her knowledge is incredible. And again, she's very, very kind of body neutral. So there's nothing around any expectations about what you're supposed to be doing. And we've got a bit of work coming up, kind of looking at these sandwich years and how do you navigate sandwich years through perimenopause. But yeah, just a beautiful soul, very warm-hearted, and gets it. Excellent. Absolutely gets it.
Love that.
So yeah, they are my two big people.
Thank you. I'll put all the links to everything we've talked about in the notes and everything for this video. And then my final question to you, Mel, is can you share a time in your life? So, you know, my business name is My Body Fits. There's a very big reason behind that. It's about us all feeling like our body's fit. For me, my body fitting in the industry. So can you tell us about a time when you really, truly felt like your body fit and you were truly accepting of who you are outside of societal beauty standards? You know, you just really felt that?
It was when I was pregnant. It was the time that I was my biggest.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody, I acknowledge my thin privilege, but I've had a very rocky, relationship with my body image. But when I'd done a lot of work. My disordered eating started when I was about 16. And I did a lot of work over the years. And I really knew what my triggers were and where I know my story, where it came from. But when I fell pregnant, there was something that shifted. And I embraced the whole moment. And I think giving birth to this little wonderful piece of life made me shift and became hyper aware of, I think, the other work that I needed to do, the work that had not yet been done. And I wanted him to come into a world where, bodies come in all different shapes and sizes, and teach him the importance of body acceptance and to have no food rules. And I think working with him through all like the weaning and how he is now as a 10-year-old, I loved being pregnant and I was terribly scared of it. And that was a big moment for me.
Amazing. I love that. I really love that. So that's such a lovely story as well, because, you know, really respecting and honouring just how amazing your body is, you know, throughout pregnancy, and what an amazing thing it's doing is really lovely, because actually that's another part of the fitness industry, isn't it? Women through pregnancy and beyond, it's like, get back into your
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know whether that was a rebellious thing, but I didn't. I didn't actively do anything. My focus was on basically nourishing myself and nourishing my family, and that was the focus.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Mel. I could chat for you for hours and hours. Thank you so much. This has been incredible, and I'm not going to edit a single thing about this because everything is just so amazing. Thank you so much, Mel. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, lovely. Thank you for having me on. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Thank you so much for joining me this week, and thank you so much to Mel Wakeman. I'm going to pop all of the links to everything we talked about in the description below, and I hope you come back and join me next week. Take care. Just make your portions smaller, and I was like,